Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel and welcome to my life. So I announced a couple of weeks ago when I released the paint and finish video that I was going to start doing these shorter process specific videos to try and help people who are just now getting into guitar building, to try and help those guys learn each individual process that you need to know to be able to build a guitar. I'm also hopeful that some of you guys whose skill level is vastly above mine, I hope you guys still get something from this. I wanted to document the process that I used to get this body to this finish level. So I chose, after much research, I chose to use OSMO products on this guitar, and will probably use OSMO pretty much exclusively for any oil-based hand rub finishes that I do in my shop. I sell automotive paint and I try to stick in that vein, but sometimes some wood, just like this beautiful walnut top I've got on this Requiem build, some woods call for an oil-based finish. There are benefits to using oil. It highlights the grain. It gives you that golden glow that you can't get from using automotive finish. Some woods just call for oil. Well, I used a combination of OSMO Wood Wax Extra Thin, product number 1101. This is a penetrating thin product that serves to get down in the pores and the grain of the wood, seal everything up, highlight that grain, give you that golden glow that we all love when it comes to this highly figured dark wood like this. It's just beautiful, and it does a really, really good job. The OSMO Extra Thin can be used on its own if you're looking for a natural satiny transparent finish on a guitar body. I wanted to carry this a little further, so I chose to use OSMO Poly-x product number 3011 gloss hard wax oil as a top coat on this. So the wood wax is kind of a sealer and a base coat for the Poly-x in this case. And I did go off label. I actually wet sanded this body. And you guys will see that process in the video coming up here in a few minutes. I just wanted to carry you through the process that I used to get this body like this, and to show each individual step that it took to get me to this point. This is a really labor-intensive way to finish a guitar. But I have found that anything worth doing is worth doing properly. I plan to keep releasing these short process-specific videos. I hope you guys learn from it. Drop me some comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this. All right, I've got a piece of slightly used 320 on my block at this point. And all we're doing now is getting rid of those 180 scratches and the 220 scratches left from the random orbit. And the guitar will be on a pad from here on out. Now I'll take a little compressed air. The wood wax is normally pretty well mixed. This is a highly penetrating wood finish. This is OSMO, and in my opinion, it is one of the best oil-based finishes you can put on wood. So we're just going to dip this in here, and I'm going to start rubbing this on, and this thing's going to come to life real quick. And it's going to soak it up. We'll wipe off the excess, look for any problem areas. We'll let this cure up any problems that we may have. We'll fix those before we go any further. And you want to put this stuff on liberally. because any porous wood, especially highly figured porous wood like this is going to suck it up. And I'll say I'm going to put 2 coats of this on here. I'm going to put two days worth of coats on here. Once we get a nice buildup of oil on this guitar, I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes, and then we will come back, wipe all the excess off. There's our first coat of OSMO, and that is absolutely stunning. All right, I'm going to let this soak in. We'll come back. I'll wipe it all off. We'll put another coat on. Let's wipe this back. I'm using an old t-shirt. I'll do the same procedure all over again. We'll just keep wiping it on there. And I want to see it start puddling and not absorbing all the oil I'm putting on here. This is kind of acting as a sealer for the OSMO Poly-x product, which is the high solids oil. So once this cures and gets down in our pores, it'll stop that Poly-x from absorbing, and we'll be able to build a finish. It gets down in there and highlights all that grain and that figure, and you wind up getting that 3D effect that we're after when we're using this highly figured wood like this. For those of you who are wondering, OSMO is made in Germany. It is a super high quality product. And as I said before, it's one of the best choices of natural wood finish. And I think a lot of people, anybody who's used it, I think they would agree with that. A quart of OSMO wood wax, which is enough for me to do probably 20 guitars out of. And a quart of Poly-x cost me right at $100, including shipping. For those of you guys who are wanting to try this. All right. I'm going to do that one more time. I'll wipe it down, rub back all the excess. Then I'm going to let this cure overnight. Not all finishes will work this way, so make sure you do your research. We're going to apply a thin layer of OSMO over this whole body, and I'm using a paper towel. We've burnished in. I'm pretty much satisfied that this wood has drank all the OSMO that it's going to have. So what we want to do is wipe a thin layer, and it needs to be really thin. If you apply a big, thick, nasty layer on here, it will cause you some issues. So don't do that. Make sure you don't leave any fingerprints or any inconsistencies, no big streak lines or anything like that. I'm not going to wipe this layer off. I'm leaving this to cure just like this. And what that will do is it will help us start to build a film. We'll get a higher build, a better result, and a better yield from our finish this way than you will if you wipe it on, wipe it back, wipe it on, wipe it back. I like to do that for the first 3 or 4 coats just to make sure the wood gets a nice drink of the oil. But now that we're to the point that I'm wanting to actually build on the surface, we don't want to wipe any of this off. You're just wasting finish at that point. This is going to be so, so beautiful. I mean, probably one of the prettier pieces of walnut that I've seen. My buddy Steve McElhenney is about to start selling some top sets. If you guys are interested in some beautiful walnut tops, go to MaximumGuitarWorks.com and tell Steve Sweet Tea sent you. As you can see, I've got a nice shine starting to happen on this body. I say starting to happen because we're not done yet. This is my third round of coats of OSMO hard wax oil gloss on this body. You can see I've got a nice gloss sheen. I applied it thin, but I also wanted to make sure I built up a nice, even, but a little bit thicker finish than what you would normally do on OSMO because of the process that we're about to undertake. We're going to wet sand this body with 2000 grit sandpaper. This is wet dry USC gold film sandpaper is what this is. So it's rated for wet sanding. I've got water. We're gonna wet the body down just a little. I'm just gonna mist it. All we want to do is build up a light slurry on top of the body to help level everything out. I'm just going to lightly mist this body. I'm not looking to really wet it down, so to speak. I've got a nice hard 3M sanding block, and I'm just going to start circular motion and just flat sand this body. The way this works, and kind of in general, when you're going after a gloss finish, you kind of build up a surface, then you dull it back down, which is what we're doing right now. We just want to get rid of any surface imperfections. Make sure everything's nice and level. That's really all we're trying to do here. I am going to sand this back just like we just did. I'm going to make sure I've gotten rid of any of the shine. And then what we're going to do, we're going to coat this again with OSMO. When you're building guitars, you have to use sandpaper like you're spending someone else's money to buy it. We're preparing right now to go to our final coat of OSMO. It'll be a really thin coat, and that is our finish coat. I know this wood's absorbed enough of this finish for it to be protected. And 2000 grit also assures us that we have a nice, even, flat finish with very few inconsistencies, if any. Down inside, especially where we've got this open grain at on this figure down here, I can see that is still shiny down in there. Now, in order to get our oil to bond to that, we need a piece of this gray Scotch-Brite right here. And I'm going to go lightly with the grain, applying very little pressure. Again, I do not want to go through the finish. You just want to make sure you get rid of all the shine. Any part of this body that you look down in this light, if you still see little specks of shine anywhere, not all finishes, but some finishes, if you do not get rid of that, your finish is not going to bond in those spots in some cases. And it's a good rule of thumb to always work on your surface of your body until you've got all of those gone. This is pretty much the most important step of the final finishing process. This is not the time to say, that's good enough. We're about to apply our last coat of OSMO Poly-x oil. This is product number 3011 or 3011. High solids clear. I am using the gloss. I am using a white Scotch-Brite, non-abrasive. You can get about 6 to 8 of these out of one full-size sheet of this white Scotch-Brite. We'll use this to burnish this oil down into the surface of this wood. I will let it sit. You want it to start tacking up just a little, and then we'll rub it back with a clean piece of a t-shirt or some soft cloth. I'm just going to dip this straight down in here. I always start with a clean one of these. Now, if I was using this on a stained body, I would pour some OSMO out into a separate cup so I did not discolor the whole can. And you want to use circular motions, and just a little bit of OSMO goes a really, really long way. I mean, that one dip will probably almost do the surface of this body. We don't want any streaks. All we're wanting to do is fill up those scratches we left with the 2000. What you see coming through in grain, as far as what grain's showing, you have to decide at that point, okay, is that an acceptable level of grain showing, or do I want less grain showing through the finish? If you want less grain, you got to do exactly what we did just now over again. And you have to keep doing that until all the grain is filled up and everything can be level sanded. All right, now that we've got that burnished in, what I like to do is take a nice white heavy-duty paper towel, dip it back in the OSMO, and we just want to make sure we've got a nice even coat of this oil over this body. You'll get to a point where you don't have to go back to the oil. You just want to make sure that you're filling in those scratches is what we're doing. You know, because 2000, you're almost to the polish level at that point, but not quite. You can still see 2000 grit scratches. That's really giving us a nice surface to bond this coat of oil to. The more work you put into it, the finer finish you're going to have. And what you want to try and find is a balance between the amount of labor that's involved that allows you to still make it an enjoyable process. There are some parts of guitar building, sanding for instance. Nobody wants to sand all day. So what you have to do is make certain that every process you do before it comes time for that is conducive to making that job easier. So, you know, make sure you get a nice clean surface finish with your files. Use a finer file to clean that up and prep that surface for that sand. And it will make your life so much more enjoyable. It turns this into a really super enjoyable process. I mean, I really love doing this. This is, you know, running your hands over the body and feeling your way through this finish. By the time you're done with the build, you should have a really, truly intimate knowledge of what's going on with every single part of that build. Not only does that make that instrument special to you, that care and that desire and that level of attention and detail, that is what translates over to the buyer or the player of your guitar. That is where the magic is made. You're infusing the mojo. That's how all these fine little details that go into all these great guitars that are being built, this is where those kind of things happen, is when the builder takes notice and really starts to care enough about his craft and about the instrument being made to infuse the mojo, to take the time to let the build speak to you a little and get you to a point that it, you know, the inspiration you feel to do this guides you through the remainder of the of this build. So I look for inspiration to guide me straight up to the end of this. Now I'm going to go over this softly, just like that. That's all I want to do to this. What a beautiful, beautiful guitar this is turning out to be. I know the camera's not doing this justice, but you can literally, there's like a 3D thing going on that you can like see down inside of this wood. It's got this golden amber blonde. It almost, in these blonde areas down here, it almost takes on this metal kind of hue down inside this grain and this figure down in here. It's really, really beautiful. All right, everybody, this is Todd from Sweet Tea Guitars. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I release another video. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And remember, until next time, inspiration is free. Use every single ounce of it you can find to get you to the place in your life that you want to be. Peace and love.